Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live broadcast with these two lovely people from Intrinsiq. We've got Mark all the way from Australia. Hi, Mark. How are you? What time is it, Mark, in Australia right now?
For me, it's just coming up to 6 p.m.
Okay, it's decent. And we've also got Jonas, a fellow Maltese. So, hi, Jonas. Welcome to this live broadcast. Jonas has recently joined the Intrinsiq team. So I'm going to start with you, Jonas. What's your role at Intrinsiq and how has it been since you've joined this company?
Well, my role is in sales and business development. It has been quite a challenge because as soon as I started, COVID hit. So
we can practically blame COVID on you.
Yeah, maybe.
So, industry professionals, she's the one to blame.
So it was a bit of a struggle at first. I mean, lots of help from Mark. But basically what I'm doing right now is bugging people, just letting them know about me and about Intrinsiq.
Okay, and one of the things that I always notice about Intrinsiq, and one of the things that I genuinely do love about you guys, is how present you are. Mark, we're just coming out, the industry is just beginning to come out of a really stressful time. Can you tell me a little bit about perhaps some of the concerns that schools, that your clients are having right now, and what are you doing to help them? Because I know you're constantly in touch with your clients.
Yeah, I mean, it was like only a couple of months ago when all the clients were saying, hey, we need online, which we ended up helping quite a few to transition to doing online teaching. And now they're actually all announcing their dates back in the classroom. I think a lot of schools have realised that online wasn't sort of their kettle of fish. But one of the things we've had a lot of discussions with people at the moment is more automation, because they're discovering that they want to bring just some of their staff back on. They don't want to bring the whole team straight back to work. And that means that they're then looking for ways that, well, how can we get one person to do two people's jobs? And so a lot of integrations and automations to try and save people time at the moment is probably the most common conversation these last few weeks.
Mm-hmm. And let's be clear, it doesn't just save people time, it also saves them money. And I think, Jonas, perhaps you also have these kinds of conversations with your clients. Right now, I mean, as we've said, the industry is coming out of probably one of the most difficult periods that I can remember. And I've been in this industry for the last 18 years. So, I mean, clients, yes, do want to save time. They do want an efficient CRM, but they also want something that can help them save money. Can Intrinsiq do this?
Yes, obviously the software has a lot of automated stuff, as Mark was mentioning, that will ease the job in a way. From conversations I've had, one of the worst pain point was the accommodation allocation.
Okay.
More than the allocation, it was the matching. So most schools still use the old school style of calling host families, matching them themselves, seeing instead of having it in the system, they just know that this type of student will go well with that host families. Then they have to call, receiving calls from host families asking, listen, what is my student doing? When are they coming? What Intrinsiq does is it takes the student record and the host family record and then matches it in the system. Okay. So basically, when allocating someone, a list will show up, and it will show you how the percentage of each host family matching to the student.
Okay.
So that's one issue out of the way. You can avoid having to call the host family. It also shows you the host families that are available along those dates.
Okay. Okay.
So, and another thing is the host family portal. So basically, we can really and truly avoid calling the host family, waiting for a reply. the system, once you allocate, it sends out an email to the host family with the dates and the details of the student, and the host family can just click accept or decline, or else in this portal they have a slot where they can ask questions and proceed from there. This gives the accommodation team a little bit more time.
Of course. The way you're explaining it, Jonas, makes it sound super simple. From a systematic point of view, Mark, perhaps I'll divert this question to you because you are kind of the one who creates the system itself. How easy or difficult is it for the people in the school to use this kind of system?
Well, this is where we tried to get it down to just a couple of clicks. So you choose the student you're trying to allocate. The system will automatically show you the best matches it feels are for that student, making sure they're available at the time when the student's staying. And then you just choose to allocate, and one click and they're immediately allocated. The host family gets an email and they can accept or reject. So from a staff perspective, it's 2 clicks to allocate a student to a homestay. But more than that, it's that they don't have to have the knowledge of hundreds of homestays in their heads. Mm-hmm. I've spoken to many accommodation managers, and they sit there and they work their way through the spreadsheet, and it's almost like they've retained all of this knowledge about these families. And you just think, well, they've got better things they could be remembering. Let the computer remember all the details of the families and find the best couple of matches, and then you just do the final decision so that you know, okay, yep, that is going to be the best choice for that student.
Okay. And does this, so we've been talking about the accommodation side of things. Does this also work from an academic perspective? So I know that Intrinsiq has a very efficient platform, a very efficient side of the platform for academics. Does it also give you all this information at just the click of a button? For example, with classroom allocation rather than host family allocation?
I think
yeah, so again, the same principle comes with class management, being able to see on a single screen all of your current classes and all of your students. And we use the tried and tested method of drag and drop. People have been dragging and dropping on computer screens for decades. Well, rather than trying to choose things off a list, just pick up the student and drop them in the class. And that's as simple as we can make it. You just grab each student in turn and drop them in the appropriate class. The system will tell you if you've made a mistake, if you allocate a student to the wrong level or to the wrong number of hours depending on what they've purchased. It will alert you to that. But at the end of the day, just drop them in the class that you know is best for them. Okay.
And will the student know about this, Jonas?
Yes, we also have a student portal. Apart from that, a student can be notified. The system can notify via SMS or email. So instead of having to go to the staff room, look up at the timetable on the notice board, you can have it on your phone. So basically, you're avoiding a mass of students marching into the office because they know where to go. They have their class schedule, so they just go to class.
I'm smiling because I think we need to share, Jonas knows why I'm smiling. I think we need to share this with the people watching us. Jonas and I used to work at the same school many years ago, and we used to have this barricade of students coming into the office or going to the notice board, and Friday mornings used to be dedicated to printing paper and tons of paper. And speaking of paper, I think that is another thing that Intrinsiq does. It does point towards a paperless school, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, nowadays, I think everyone is aiming for an environmental friendly way of working. So yeah, everyone has a phone, a tablet or a laptop and can access anything.
Exactly.
As we've mentioned before in other posts, our system is based on a cloud system, so can be accessed from anywhere. But yeah, the idea is to avoid any paper trails.
Okay.
Everything stored online and you can access everything from there.
Okay, I'm going to pick on a very important point that Jonas mentioned, which is the fact that Intrinsiq is based on cloud. This is a point that seems to be very important for a lot of schools. Mark, can you confirm this?
Yeah, I'll try not to get onto my rant. It's funny. 10 years ago, we moved on to the cloud, and we had schools saying to us,
How many years ago? How many years ago?
years ago, it was,
Wow,
it was
10.
it was late 2010 that we launched our first cloud system. And I had schools saying to me, oh, no, I can't do that. It's dangerous. You know, it's not good. And now we have others in the industry who are saying they're on the cloud, even though they're not still on the cloud. And this is the key differentiator for schools being able to access it anywhere and truly being a cloud platform. It should be as accessible as Gmail, as all the other websites that you use on a daily basis. And that's how you get to a paperless office. If you want teachers to be able to not have a class role, they need to be able to do it on their mobile phone, not have to go back to a computer and use a clunky interface when they could be just doing it on their cell phone in the room.
Mm-hmm. Is it safe, though? Because this probably seems to be a question that perhaps those schools who are considering making the move to something, so 2020, might still be a little bit concerned about. Is being on the cloud safe?
But I guess there's two aspects of safety. There's the idea of keeping the data safe, i.e. not losing stuff. And then there's the aspect of, can somebody steal the data? Well, in the aspect of keeping stuff safe, it's far safer on the cloud. Our data centers, we work in partnership with Microsoft, and everything, all of our client data is backed up in triplicate in 2 different locations. So if you like, there's 6 simultaneous copies of your data at all times. So if we're going to, we're going to have a nuclear attack before we lose anything is the approach that we try and take. The other aspect is the safe as in terms of, is it safe from attack from outside? And that's where it comes with working with a partner like Microsoft, having that ISO certification to know that, yes, the data centers are secure and the way we've configured our product is secure, so that data can't disappear out of the data center without the correct authorization being in place. Okay. And even down to our own staffing, individual staff members have limited access to client systems based on their role, because we need to protect our clients because we care for it and we're legally obliged to.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in accommodation will be able to see the accommodation interests of the student. Somebody in academics will be able to see the academic interest of the students. But then we have a very important department, which is the marketing department. And a lot of the articles that we've published for Intrinsiq have been about data, have been about, the fact that you can collect data at the click of a button. And again, I smile as I say this, because I remember that back in my day, I used to spend a whole week at the end of the year working on statistics for a relatively small school. How easy is data collection using the Intrinsiq system? Perhaps, Jonas, you want to answer this?
Yes. So basically, since the data is there, as what we say usually is, it's at the click of a button, really. Mm-hmm. Reports we can create, we've discussed with our clients. They tell us what kind of reports they need. Okay. And we work around it because the data is there. All you need to do is just pull it out.
And when it comes to reports, Jonas, can different schools ask for different types of reports, or are they standard?
No, I mean, it can be customizable. Okay. That's the beauty of Intrinsiq. It's a customized software, mm-hmm. Which evolves around the need of each school. There is obviously the basic system, but then it depends on the school, what they need, and we work around that. Okay. So it's not limited. I mean, whatever, if the data is there, we can pull it out. So it's not limited to this and this.
Okay. And can you give us, perhaps for the benefit of those listening to us, can you give us some examples of what perhaps schools might need to have in these reports?
Sure, maybe a sales report showing the sales from each agent.
Mm-hmm.
So you can compare, and listen, that way you can see which markets are more profitable than others. So you
Mm-hmm.
can focus your marketing on certain agencies in certain countries.
Okay.
I mean, you can do anything really, but
Okay.
these
So
kinds of
you can
reports do that.
focus on agent performance to
Yeah.
see how different agents are performing. You can look at different markets. Does it also does forecasting, doesn't it?
Yes, maybe Mark can jump in here.
Yeah, so I mean, I was interested actually. I was talking to an academic manager the other day, and he was saying, "Oh, I need to know which students are in which class." And I said, "Oh, well, that's fine. You just go here. That's easy to see." But I said, "But actually, I think what you actually want to know is how many students you're going to have at each intake coming up, because at each level, because you want to be able to forecast your classes. You don't want to be, you know." And he said, "Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to know the data so that I could do my own forecasts." And I said, "Well, stop doing your own forecasts. Software's good at maths. It can do the forecast. You just need to ask the right question." And that's where we try and work with the schools to solve the problem they actually have, not just give them data that then they have to manually hack around in a spreadsheet. The system should present the data as they need it, not so that they can then spend the rest of the day building macros to try and solve the problem that they've got.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you mentioned that, and I mentioned it at the beginning as well, that you are constantly in touch with your clients to help them solve problems. But I also know for a fact that you're constantly in touch with clients to help train them how to use the system as well. Isn't that so? You provide them with training. I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe.
Yeah, something I'm working on at the moment is an online user guide.
Okay.
So basically, I am going through our demo system. I mean, it obviously changes per client, but I go through it and I bombard Mark with questions. So, I'm not clear on this. What does it do? And I set up the user guide. So that's one thing that we do offer clients. Another thing is we have the support portal. So anything that comes up, any problems, they can contact us there. But Mark usually deals with that stuff. So I don't know if you want to continue on that, Mark.
yeah. As well as like when we receive questions from clients, the other thing we implemented pre the COVID crisis that we hear Jonas started for us was we assigned a staff member to phone every single user of our system. So they started with each, got the permission from the main client, the main contact, and then started to work their way through the entire school, just phoning 10 to 15-minute conversations, asking, well, how do you find Intrinsiq? Is there anything that you would change if you could? And it was amazing how much learning came out of that, and how many, like, just tiny little changes at no cost to the client we could make that improve people's day-to-day lives. And that's one of the things we try and differentiate on, is to actually like be proactive in asking people the question, what's wrong, and keep pushing what's wrong until we actually can get an answer that will then enable us often to make a very small change that can save people a lot of work. And that's really what software is supposed to do, isn't it? Is to save work.
Exactly. And it is what we said at the very beginning as well, that the reason why we're here today is to convince people that, yes, it saves work, therefore it saves time, and therefore it saves money. So you provide them with training, you provide them with help. That is if they are new clients. How about, because I know that Intrinsiq also helps a lot of people who are transitioning between CRM systems, so who have perhaps been using a CRM system for a long time, they have not been happy with the way this CRM has been working. They are now considering changing. So they are already familiar with the concept of a CRM. They are already convinced that a CRM does help in the day-to-day running of their school. But very often, and these are conversations that even I have had with my clients, they are a little bit afraid that something might go wrong during the transition, that they might lose some of the data. What do you answer to that, Mark, perhaps?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're fortunate with is that we've transitioned clients from most of the major system suppliers in the industry. So we have pre-built transition systems in place. What we've done actually for several schools now is take their data, import it into our system, just to allow them to see that the data is all there and it's going to work. Because there's nothing like seeing your own students, your own classes in the new system, even weeks or months before they actually start using it in anger, to actually give them that opportunity to see, oh, okay, my data is going to make it. I can see that all of my data is there already. And then obviously once they're ready to go live, we pull in the new data. But for us, having the experience of doing that from multiple different systems means that we can reproduce it consistently, and that gives them the opportunity to preview that move and take away the fear of losing something on the way.
Okay, so they won't lose any data. They can practice using the new Intrinsiq system while the old system is still running, so that when the data is migrated to Intrinsiq, or by the time the data is migrated to Intrinsiq, there's no loss of data whatsoever.
And if I can add something, even before all that, usually the person who's in charge of their system, one from Intrinsiq, calls each department head to see what they actually need, what they use, and we give them the option of something simpler. Usually it's Mark who deals with that stuff, but basically it helps to know how each department works, and we can give them the option to say, listen, if you do this way, it's going to save you time. So before all that data migration, and we start working on their system, we just find out what they truly need, how they work. So we customize the system to their needs.
Okay, that's good. So I think the whole point is that everything boils down to a good old-fashioned conversation between you guys and the client. And I think this is the beauty of Intrinsiq. You mentioned it earlier. You said it's customizable. And I think this is the advantage of not having an off-the-shelf product. Because I think when you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the experts, but I think when you have an off-the-shelf product, even when we buy something, we all start with, okay, I'll go for that because it's cheaper. But then once I get it, I start thinking, wouldn't it be great if it could do this? Wouldn't it be great if it could do that? And within a few months, sometimes I start thinking, oh shoot, maybe I should have bought a customizable product. And I think it is the same for schools. So the big question remains, and I'm going to be a little bit arrogant and ask it here. Does Intrinsiq break the bank for schools?
Well, maybe Mark, you want
to... You should be saving money. We started off with the conversation, time is money in a business, isn't it? So if the software starts doing the job that people are wasting their time doing, then you're saving money. And the automation flow-on effects, moving people into roles where they can actually add benefit rather than have them do what computers do. And it is such a waste of people's life, retyping invoices, re-entering data, moving spreadsheets around, things that are solved problems and have been for a long time. It's easy for software. So we always try to say to people, look, you will save money by buying our product. You'll make it back in the fact that you're saving the time and therefore the money of paying people to do a computer's job.
Exactly.
And also there are no hidden costs. We have no student limit and no user limit. So
okay, so the school, so no matter what the size of the school is, they are paying the same thing for the software?
Well, it depends on their needs, actually. Depends on.
Okay. But if let's say a school,
there's no limit.
Okay.
We found that most schools just buy a one user agreement, and you have lots of people logging in with the same login account, and that leads up to lots of problems in the future. Because
What kinds of problems?
I mean, if one person makes changes, you can't track it down because you just have one person using it. What we do have as well is a security account, different security levels. So basically, if you have an intern, they are limited into what they can do as compared to other users or heads of department.
Okay.
So this helps in a way because you can track who made the changes, what time, where. But if you're trying to save money and just go with one user, you can track all those things. So it causes problems.
And I think, sorry, just continue there. That's why we don't charge per user, because I've sat in so many schools having discussions with them. I've heard somebody shout across the office, "Can you log out of our system? We need to log in." And realistically, it doesn't cost us per user. Our costs are per system supplied. So why should we be charging our clients some exorbitant fee for each person who logs in when it doesn't cost us more when they log in? And that's where, like Jonas mentioned, there's no hidden cost, because that's not how you do business. You have a certain amount of cost in your business, and that's the cost you have to present to the customer. So we don't try and sneak in extra fees like, oh, you pay extra for more students or extra for more users, because that's just customer hostile. It's much better just that they know what they need to pay to get the support and the system that they need. And we know that we can afford to run a business by supplying that product at a good level.
Okay. I know it's a bit of an uncomfortable question, but I wanted to address it with you guys in any case, because obviously people do ask it. And for the benefit of those listening to us, and for those who will be watching this video later on, because this video will be available on our social media channels and on the Intrinsiq social media channels as well. So if you haven't managed to log in now, and if you haven't managed to watch this video and join us for this live discussion now, you can still watch it later on. Guys, to start concluding, if you had to kind of describe Intrinsiq in a very short way, I'll start with you, Mark, because you've been at the company since the very beginning. How would you describe Intrinsiq?
Well, the elevator pitch, I'm not sure I can be that succinct. But I guess I would say that, and I've said this to many people, software is a byproduct of what we do. What we're there to do is to try and solve the school's operational needs in an efficient manner to save them time and money. And we do that with software, we do that with good support, we do that with good training. But we're not trying to pitch a software solution that is, here, buy this box and then I can go home and get my bonus. What we're trying to do is build those relationships and keep clients productive and going. And that benefits everyone in the long run. So I guess
exactly.
We do software, but it's really a byproduct of trying to help schools solve their problems.
Yeah, so you're trying to join. I think that the way you've described it reminds me of you guys are trying to join the school's journey of growth.
Yeah.
You're trying to help the schools grow. Okay, that's nice. Jonas, I know you haven't been at the company for a long time, but in the last few months that you have been with Intrinsiq, how would you describe the company?
Well, I would go for something as simple as a time saver.
Okay.
Because it will save you a lot of time. And as you said, time is money.
Exactly.
Maybe people will not see it at the start of things, but in the long run, yes, it will save you a lot of time and money, and you can focus your staff to work on other stuff, on other material,
exactly.
maybe on marketing. So yeah, time saver.
Okay, very well. I have also just shared the Intrinsiq website and the Intrinsiq contact details. So if you guys who are watching this are interested, and I know that we have crammed a lot of information into these 30 minutes, but I wanted this to be an overview of how Intrinsiq can help schools, especially those schools who are starting to come back to life, so to speak, post-COVID. So if you guys are interested in, I would say, migrating to the 21st century and start using a software that is really good for your school, that helps you save time, that helps your employees be more efficient, and that helps you allocate to natural strengths. Because I think, as Mark said earlier, if you can have a software doing the mathematics, why waste a member of staff to do it when that member of staff can spend his or her energy focusing on what matters the most? That is the students, the human aspect of the school. And I think if we've learned anything over the past few months, it's that we all love and we have all missed that human aspect. So let us focus on that and let us leave the experts to do what they know best. Mark, Jonas, I thank you very much for being with us today. I also want to spare a thought and thank my dogs for behaving very well during this. I didn't have to mute myself a single time, so that was great. Thank you very much, and I look forward to having you again on this live broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
See you.